America is home to 5% of the world's total population, but it also holds 25% of the world's prisoners.
The 14th Amendment says that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
There is no doubt that racial prejudice has contributed to the dramatic increase in prisoners over the last 4 decades. Only 17 years ago, we had 2,015,300 incarcerated prisoners. But in 2014, 2,306,200 people were incarcerated.
Not to mention the fact that black men have a 1 in 3 chance of being incarcerated, while white males have a chance of only 1 in 17.
Races are being singled out and put into jail for petty crimes. Kids in urban schools are being pumped into the prison system for crimes that could have been fixed in other ways instead of imprisonment.
It is known that the prison system leaves those who come out without jobs, without opportunities, and without a reason not to go back. The percentage of people who will be rearrested by the end of their first year free is about 56.7%.
We need to support people as soon as they are convicted. We need to make sure that people are also being convicted justly.
We propose the idea that drug addiction should be seen as a health issue, not as a crime. Putting a person in jail for drug abuse won't help them quit their dangerous habit. It's only forcing them to become sober, and only for the time that they're behind bars. The cost to keep an inmate on average is $31,286 per inmate, and the price may have increased since 2013. American taxpayers pay $72,151,773,200 annually to protect prisoners, keep them fed and healthy, and this is just an estimate. The cost to keep inmates, although high, would not be so high if the United States didn't have a quarter of the entire planet's prison population, especially when half the Americans' incarcerated population is incarcerated for petty drug crimes that are unnecessary.
In the 1920s, a prohibitionist named Harry J. Anslinger used the country's racial tensions to manipulate the population. So basically, he made it his life mission to make weed illegal by telling the population, what do you hate? People of color. What do people of color smoke sometimes? Weed. He was able to do this because he was tapping into very deep anxieties in the culture that were not to do with drugs and attaching them to this drug, says Jonathan Harry in his book Chasing the Scream.
Anslinger was no doubt a racist man. I mean, he based his whole thesis on how to get people of color in jail without them actually committing a crime. A quote from him says, "Reefer," meaning weed, "makes darkies think they're as good as white men." We'll leave it at that.
Anslinger's ideals carried on to the drug war, where President Reagan still criminalized weed, which many studies have proven that after a certain age, weed is safe. Reagan only had one reason to do so. John Ehrlichman, who was basically his right-hand man, said it himself. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, then criminalizing them both heavily, we could disrupt their communities, we could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did.
The two of them tried to criminalize being black. It doesn't work that way. A disproportionate number of those arrested are African Americans, who smoke marijuana at rates similar to whites, but are arrested and prosecuted far more often for having small amounts for personal use, according to the study. The arrests